1917. Sam Mendes, man. Sam Mendes and Tom and Baratheon.
That's right.
The duo none of us
king.
knew we needed. Is he your king? Yeah. Jumping out the window gif insert here. So yeah, this is a timely movie to talk about, with the Oscars being only 3 weeks away at this point. The Screen Actors Guild had their awards this past weekend, and Parasite took home the best cast or performance by cast, whatever the top award is. But to this point, 1917 has seemed like an Oscar lock. After winning Best Picture Drama and Best Director at the Golden Globes, it's won a couple other awards.
The PGA prize, most notably.
It's gotten, dozens of other nominations. This film seems like a award season darling. But you mentioned this when we talked on our end of year movie list for 2019. It didn't crack your top 10. I hadn't seen it at that time, and I was like, I think it's definitely going to crack mine. It's Roger Deakins being Roger Deakins. The camera is beautiful. The shots are fantastic. It has a bit of a gimmick to it in terms of like the one shot, which I don't mean to like be reductive and say that it's a gimmick, because it's certainly artistry. Yeah. But the effect that the one shot has, I think, on multiple viewings is questionable. And what that really does upon the first viewing, the first time you see the film, is it really makes you feel like you're on this journey with them. And I think that it veils some of the plot holes and some of the things that don't really make sense, and the fact that this really is just a war story underneath it all. And I think there's a couple of tropes and a couple of scenes that are roped in that really just take you back out of the experience a bit. So I wasn't left super impressed. I still think this is a very good movie, and Mendes obviously is just an excellent filmmaker. He's made so many other good movies in the past. One of my top 10 of the past decade in Skyfall. But
right.
Yeah, I don't think that this is the work he's going to be remembered for. Well, what are your initial thoughts? And we can maybe dive in a little bit more specifically on 1917.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Mendes won't be remembered for this because we're going to give the credit to Deakins.
Right.
Because everything that's flashy about the movie is the technical aspects of the movie. It's a technical masterpiece. That's not up for debate. But the most impressive parts about it are also the technical aspects. That means we're not as impressed with the storytelling or the script. And that is what Mendes contributed to most of all. And ultimately, I think people's enjoyment of this movie depends what they want. It's a really impressive theater experience film.
Yeah.
Like you said, does this movie stand up to second viewing? I have not seen a second time. I've seen people that have say that it does not as much. When you know what's coming, you realize that the plot is almost dictated by this faux oneer. Mm-hmm. And from a storytelling perspective, I think we're just lacking a little bit because we don't know a blessed thing about Schofield and Blake beyond the fact that Blake has a brother who is the King of the North. That's all we know about him.
Yeah.
And these guys have no thoughts on the war. They really don't have thoughts on really anything beyond what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with like a lot of the Deus Ex Machinas of the events that unfold for these two Lance Corporals, it's I just don't see it as like a top tier war film, because I think ultimately we're made to focus on the oneer aspect of it the whole time, as if the oneer is like our narrator running with these guys, you know?
Right.
So from a storytelling perspective, I just thought it left a little to be desired, which is weird to say because, again, the technical aspects are so impressive and so much care was brought to making a period film like this. It's very expensive and there's great actors throughout in small roles, but
yeah, man,
it's not Saving Private Ryan.
No. you're talking about the expensiveness to make it look good. The set design in this is phenomenal. Like I don't even know how they made some of this and how they set this up. Just gorgeous and unbelievable. And that again, that speaks to the technical aspects. You know, we learn a couple of things about Schofield. You know, he talks about not wanting to go home, how it's actually worse because then you're left like distraught afterwards and heavily
survive the Somme. Yep.
But you are kind of left with these avatars and you know, similar to Dunkirk of these, you know, common soldiers, these people who are you know, on the surface unremarkable, but are put into these inhumane and just unreal things that you wouldn't expect to be realistic in modern day everyday life. War obviously thrusts them into these situations. What I think works so good about the Wonder in the theater is when something like spoiler alert, the rat hitting the tripwire happens, you're shocked, and like just like them, you feel almost blown back by what happens. Knowing that the second time around, knowing the beats of like the shock, it's gonna I can't imagine I'm gonna be like the second time.
Right.
Like,
or the plane crashing, same thing.
Also, with that plane crashing, I was like, how are they not like getting out of the way? This plane feels like it's gonna be coming right over this hill. But
like us for the audience, when the camera stops moving,
right,
and you're like, oh yeah, okay, obviously it's crashing into the barn.
Yeah.
Did you see the stabbing coming? I immediately thought of Saving Private Ryan. I was like, do not be friendly to the Germans. It's gonna stab you in the back, shoot you in the back. Literally, you're gonna get stabbed right away. Apparently, don't do it.
I definitely thought about it, but I wasn't sure. But I also kind of hate that they didn't like show it. You know, like I wish we had kind of seen it. And that I think is a takeaway from the Wonder for me.
So enough wanton death in the film. We could have just seen it.
Right, exactly. But either way, you know, shout out to Tommen though. He really looked dead pretty quickly.
Yeah,
which I was like really impressed by. The makeup on that was unbelievable. And you know, when we get to like the second half of the movie, and he has like the shootout with the sniper, something happens where he passes out, whether he gets shot and is not knocked back.
I think it's dinged in the helmet, I think is what happens.
Something like that. And then he
falls down the stairs.
But then he passes out for like, I don't know, 12 hours, wakes up at like 4 a.m. The mechanics of it all, I don't know if I understand. You know, he's riding on a car for a certain amount of time. I don't know how long we're supposed to believe. It's 8 miles to, was it Anvies or whatever it is, and then he has to go east. And it just like the mechanics of it didn't add up. He goes on a waterfall at some point, and that's kind of where the storytelling to me kind of falls apart. It's like this is all really awesome to watch, and I'm having a great time seeing these scenes, but I don't know if this all makes sense to me.
Right, like when he escapes being in like a German encampment. And he falls into the river, he gets out, and like you see like the really grisly thing of all the bodies floating, you know, it's a really stark visual for war. Great. But when he pops out, he's in the forest and he actually is right where he needs to be. There's the unit he was looking to warn the whole time.
Yep.
All right. Sure. Okay.
Right. You're just kind of supposed to like believe these things. And I think ultimately that's kind of like the embodiment of the thinness of the story. But also, when he finds the unit, there's this guy singing and all the soldiers sitting around in the middle of the woods, and it looks fucking awesome. Yep. I'm just kind of like, this looks cool. Or as he's like running and you have like the daylight over these like very white dirt, like, what are the trenches, you're just kind of like, this looks incredible, dude. Like, how do you even like color something like this? And it kind of takes away from like the fact that he was like basically being held down by these two guys, so he couldn't get to Mackenzie, but somehow was able to like fight them off and goes in, and like that whole scene, like it was awesome seeing like Benedict Cumberbatch be like Mackenzie, but I also was kind of like, is this really how this would go down? Wouldn't he have to like tell somebody he has this letter, and like a captain would go in and talk to him? Just like,
oh, well, sure. Yeah, of course.
Right. All these like pieces, I just kind of was like, kind of took me out a bit. Although, you know, kind of going back to the Cumberbatch thing, there are a lot of cameos in this.
Yes.
Any that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. You got Colin Firth, Andrew Scott, Mark Strong, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Richard Madden. I think that's all of them. A lot of them.
Yeah.
I think Strong was really good doing Mark Strong things. He's just he can be warm, he can be evil, whatever it is. He's always a really strong performance on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Him being a military officer makes perfect sense. He was really good.
Yeah.
But Andrew Scott was like the one that gives you like true pathos in the trench. He's like actually someone who is like, this shit sucks, bro. Good fucking luck, whatever. Here's some fucking holy water. You'll be dead in 20 feet. Like, that was amazing. I wish we could just hang out with him the whole time.
I know. Didn't he like take a swig of the holy water after?
Yeah, I think so.
He's like throws it back. Fucking hilarious. Yeah, that was great. I'm wondering, when he comes upon Mark Strong, the guy who's like playing the general, who's in the car like bitching about the.
Oh yeah, who was that? I couldn't identify him.
I couldn't identify it.
Yeah,
I've been trying to figure out who that was. But yeah, I thought Mark Strong and Andrew Scott were by far the ones I found most intriguing. I also expected more from what Mark Strong said about Mackenzie. How have a witness in the room. I thought there would have to be something with that. And
yeah, I actually thought he would fail. I thought Mackenzie would say, "Nah, B, we're going," and then that would happen.
Kind of what happened at first, and then
right.
He was like, "Oh, okay." I thought today would be a good day. Okay, Sherlock. Yeah, so ultimately, I guess where I'm kind of left, and I wanted to get your opinion. Oscars coming up. Really, probably down to 3 movies now that Parasite won. We got Parasite 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the Best Picture. Where would you put your money right now? It's tough.
It's hard to say. 1917 winning the Producers Guild Award is a big win. That award has been given out 30 times so far. 21 of those movies won Best Picture. 10 of the last 12 PGA winners won Best Picture. A notable one that did not, La La Land. That was recent. If 1917 was to win Best Picture, it'd be the first movie without any acting nominations to win since Slumdog Millionaire back in 2008. So, with the Academy changing, with something as unprecedented as Parasite becoming a top contender happening, it's hard to put too much stock in any of the precedent. But it does feel like 1917 is at least the slight favorite for Best Picture. I think we'll know early on if Mendes wins Best Director over, like, say, QT.
Be a travesty.
But with the acting support for Parasite from the SAG win, SAG win is not as big a predictor historically, but again, it's tough to put a lot of faith in precedent right now. So I don't know, but yeah, I do feel like 1917 would be the winner. And it's not. This is not a Green Book win. If 1917 wins, I will not be mad. I guess I would just be frustrated because Parasite getting so close. Because if Parasite wins, that's them hitting the nail on the head. That's right. Moonlight winning again. That's like the true grand slam. And 1917 wins, yeah, that's a solid homer. Cool. It's a worthy film.
Yeah. I definitely hope it's either Parasite or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those just feel like the movies I'm definitely going to be thinking about the most from this year. But yeah, 1917 seems like the safe bet. And I think what will probably end up happening is Parasite's going to win Best Foreign Film. And then, or they changed the name to it now.
International film now.
International film. Once Upon a Time is probably going to get 1 or 2, probably going to get a rating.
Yep. Original
credit.
Screenplay.
Probably going to get, Best Supporting Actor.
Yep.
And then Mendes going to take home the director and the Best Picture. And it's just disappointing to me, especially because like the performances in this aren't bad, but there's not much to work with. And I think
exactly
if you're going to award anything, it should be Deakins and not necessarily Mendes in the film in whole. Total.
Yeah, exactly. And Deakins, I think by all accounts, is going to win Best Cinematography for this again. Yeah. His second win. But yeah, like Dean, Charles-Chapman, Tommen, he's good in this. He has the best line in the movie where he's like, "Oh, Matt, you'd be wanking it in no time," and then McKay's like, "Wrong hand." I fucking died. Hilarious.
Yeah, so good.
But McKay, who again has all the physicality you need, he doesn't have a lot of lines. That's just not what this movie is about. And I just have a hard time seeing a movie that you literally didn't even nominate for Best Editing because there wasn't
the camera. Yeah.
It's fake editing, And and you don't have acting nominations, this should be awarded for the technical stuff. And it's in Best Picture already. It just, it wasn't in our top tens. Yeah. And a lot of those other nominees were. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting. Again, I'm not going to be mad, but I will be disappointed.
Yeah. Where did you have it again?
I had it, I believe, 16th. So by no means, low.
Bad film. Yeah.
I've seen a fuck ton of movies, but, I have Parasite 1 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2. So it's a bit of a difference.
And I do as well. Where did I put it? Let me just pull it up here. I'm pretty sure I had it down near the 20s. Yeah, I think I had it 23. Yeah, it was a film I liked and technically great, but I don't see myself rewatching anytime soon. I'm not clamoring for it to hit streaming services. So
no.
Anyways,
it's also kind of interesting because this was a late entry into award season to not come out until Christmas. But the way they ran the campaign, everyone got to see it, and then it's like, oh wait, no, here's our new contender. When it's like, oh, it was Once Upon a Time the whole time, and then Parasite, people have been evangelizing for it as much as they can since October, and then 1917 shows up the last second. It's kind of a weird way the awards calendar has worked this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping when we make our picks, I'm right when I pick Parasite to win it all.